is that power and responsibility reside in the people. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. You're here this morning because you is the people. You have been assigned, we have, by history, to conduct this nation in the next 10 years into a new century. Now, whether we do it or not, history will mark us. We can't escape it. So we might as well live up to our responsibilities. The most important seat I see in front of me is not the seat that's occupied by a parent or a teacher. It's the empty seat. There's a lack of motivation somewhere, because if enough were sufficiently motivated, those seats would be filled and there'd be people out in the hall. Now, if we thoroughly understood what was at stake, everybody would be crowding into this room, because this discussion is that important. Somehow or other, the people who matter did not fill that seat. Must be the object of what we talk about and what we do. We must motivate them to assume their responsibilities for motivating their children. We must understand the larger context in which this meeting and this assembly is taking place. Why is the problem of motivation so acute in our community? Is it because we are black? Is it because we are poor? Is it because of racism? Is it because of slavery? All of these things have an important part to play on the subject of motivation. But in addition to that, there are other factors at work, some of them very, very keenly mentioned and pointed out by Ms. Russell. The kinds of families we have now, where there's one parent. In our society, we have changed the focus of the family. The parents have replaced the child as the center of the family. Each parent feels it is his or her pursuit of happiness that has to be the central objective of his or her life. Therefore, if the love for the wife wears out after 3 or 4 years, I'm sorry, but the love I had for her no longer works. And the children are there, but they are impediments on my pursuit of happiness. The law and the culture and the times not only permit me, they encourage me to seek my own bliss. Therefore, wife, you no longer meet my needs. Children, you are in the way. I must put you aside. I must follow my star. This self-indulgence on the part of us as parents leaves the child in the limbo that was so painfully described by Ms. Russell. The child's basic value of him or herself is given by the parents in the beginning. If you love the child, you focus on the child assumes that it's important. We've seen these nature films where the birds are in the tree and the birds spend all day going to get the food to come back to feed the little nestlings and the little birds in the nest say, and the parents fly off and come and stuff the food down and the little bellies get big. Well, now, the bird gets a pretty important clue as to how important it is. It truly is the center of the universe. Just open its mouth and something must happen. Like that. But suppose the birds themselves, suppose the parent said, I love you, children, but I got to take care of my own belly first. I got to do my own thing. And honey, I just hope you make it. If I have something left, I come and bring it to you. Stay in the nest, because the wolf is out there. Really? Got to, honey, I just love you so much. I hope maybe someday a teacher will come along and give you what I didn't have time to give you. You understand that, right? Okay. And off flies the bird in pursuit of his or her own happiness. Now, either we are going to restructure the family so that the child is centered again in terms of mama and daddy, or we're going to have to restructure some substitute for the family that will give the support, encouragement, and nurture that the child needs. They can't become a human being without it in our society. Thank God. In some places we have institutions that have taken that responsibility on. Gingerbread House is a magnificent example. I look at it, I glow. I saw those children last night as they performed, you know, and tears comes to my eyes. Those children are motivated. And children will be motivated coming from love and taken care of by love. But sometimes children come to us who are not motivated at all, or they come to us with their motivations in full gear. And for whatever reason, we turn the motivation off, and nobody ever goes and switches it back on again. Gingerbread House is undertaking that. But Gingerbread House is small. Gingerbread House deals with the problems of one city. We read the papers and we see that the fires of drugs and unemployment and negativism is already burning in all of our communities. I'm shocked. It hurts me to know that 1 out of 4 of my sons is either in jail or a ward of the court. And I know, no matter how hard I try personally, that I will always be behind the problem, trying to catch up, trying to patch up what has been done to the child before I got there. What then must I do? I must not only stop looking at my sons because they are problems and say that because they are problems, they are the problem. That is not so. They are problems, but they didn't get to be problems by themselves. The neglect, sometimes at an individual level, but most important in this country, on institutional level, has left them stranded. This city used to provide jobs for young people even if they dropped out. All they needed was strong muscles, determination, show up at the factory gate, accept the job at the beginning level, take the wages, go out, find yourself a little wife, get yourself a little house. In those days you could afford to buy yourself a little house. You can't do that now, even if you're rich and middle class. Start your little family, become yourself somebody, and you begin to define yourself as a person, fruitful and productive in the community. The job not only gave you the start, the job sort of helps structure you. Now, one of the economic founding fathers of the community ups and leaves. Who has asked the question, "Oh, economic God, I know you owe much to your prophets. Do you not also owe something to the community in which you grew?" Is not a corporation a person under our Constitution made so by benefit of the 14th Amendment, which we put on the books? If a corporation as a person, does it not have responsibilities beyond paying taxes? Now, who's going to ask those questions? The congressmen are not, the senators are not, because they're already bought by the corporation. The buck passes back to where it always was in a democracy, to the people. And I close this item by saying, you and me is the people. The question of motivation. We motivate our children by our examples. You know, if we are motivated, they become motivated. And we become motivated when there's something we want desperately, something we need desperately. Doggone it right now. We need a better class of people coming out of our school. That means that that unmotivated parent that should be sitting in that chair and that is your responsibility. You got to go and find him and bring him back and sit him in that seat. Just like I, with my daughters, my black daughters, whom I need somebody to marry. I got to go into the prison and say, "What are you doing in here?" I got to have a husband for my daughters. Get it up, line it up here. Come on out of this. You're running out on me, man. Come out of there. So to be motivated to take action on a people's level, responding to these needs, is what I think we should try and help bring ourselves out from these conferences. I thank you.